Well, hello again. So it's Thursday afternoon, 4:13 here in Alberta, and yeah. So word is that Trump is going ahead with his 25% tariffs on Saturday against Canada and Mexico, and he's not sure if he's going to have tariffs on oil or not. You know, it's interesting how that all plays out. He made an interesting comment. He said it all depends on the price. And it's like, I mean, I'm not an economist, sorry. I'm not an economist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a dude who is intrigued by things, and, I like to learn about things that I don't know about. And even I know that it's just an absolute asinine thing that he's talking about, the price. All right. What we have here in Canada is mostly called what's Western Canadian Select. And America produces mostly West Texas Intermediate. And another oil in the world is, Brent crude, typically North Atlantic Europe, Britain, that area there, right? So different types of oil on the world markets, different grades, different sulfur content. It's not like there's just one type of oil. And America primarily produces West Texas Intermediate. And that sells for a higher price on the open market than Western Canadian Select. Reason being is because primarily the USA is our only market for oil. So it's sold right now I think it's at an $8 or $9 discount per barrel. And then you add in the fact the way the Canadian dollar is priced. You're buying cheap Canadian oil in Canadian dollars using American funds. And then you're taking your West Texas Intermediate and selling it on the world market at a higher price. Right? I mean, it's already at a discounted rate. Like, what does he want? Free oil? All right, now here's the thing. We expanded a pipeline headed to BC, and it just came online. And we're starting to ship oil to the Asian markets, but yet too, even a lot of the oil that leaves Vancouver hops on a tanker and goes to California and their refineries over there, right? So, but that one expansion of the pipeline did bring up the price of oil, the Canadian oil, on the world market and stuff. But that's just it. The price is dictated by global market prices, right? It's not. I mean, it's so frustrating. You think that he would at least have this basic concept of how it would work, all right? But here's an interesting thing. So yeah, Canada exports oil to America. We account for 60% of U.S. oil imports. Mexico imports 10% of our exports, sorry, 10%. So America imports 10% of their overall oil imports from Mexico. So if he slaps tariffs on Canada and Mexican oil, it will be an additional, like 70% of the imports coming into the country are going to be 25% more. I just don't understand the logic behind it all. And the thing about the oil and everything like that. I know I'm talking primarily about oil. I'll get on other things here quickly, but the thing about what most Americans don't understand is the type of oil that we sell and why it's important. Because a lot of Americans are like, well, we make our own oil. Why would we need Canadian oil? And it's like, because the refineries in the Midwest and like in the west coast of America, like in California, are tooled. They're designed and built to process heavy crude, which is what Canada produces. It's also the same oil that Venezuela produces, right? And I think there's Iran produces a heavy crude, but anyway, that the majority of our oil is heavy crude, and the refineries are designed to process that. And you can't just flick a switch and say, okay, we're going to process West Texas Intermediate, our oil, our American oil. It doesn't work that way. You got to, retool the whole plant. That takes time and billions of dollars. It'll take more time than Trump is president, and the amount of money is going to be astronomical. And unless there's government subsidies involved, private companies aren't going to undertake that, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So it just absolutely blows my mind. And then 25% tariffs on everything else. So softwood lumber, cement, electricity, potash, hell, even uranium for their goddamn nuclear reactors and nuclear bombs comes from Saskatchewan. Right? You know, like potash for fertilizer, yeah, agricultural products. See, that's the thing about Canada is we are a raw resource country. So we'll ship down raw lumber, raw natural resources to the States, and then they'll make finished products and ship them back up to Canada. Right? You know, like $1.2 trillion a year in trade happens between our two countries. It's a crazy amount. Like $3.4 billion a day crosses the Canadian American border every single day. Yeah, so, you know, here we are. No idea what's going to happen. The Canadian government has shit on the go. So, you know, see what happens there. I guess we find out on Saturday what kind of surprises and excitement. Uh, you know, but in terms of this oil thing, yeah, no, I don't know. My gut tells me I don't think he's going to go 25% on oil. If he does tariff oil, it'll be at a lower rate for sure. He's very aware that the American consumer is very price conscious when it comes to gasoline. And if tariffs go in between Canada and Mexico, literally the price of a gallon of gas in the States is going to go up overnight. Like Sunday morning, it will be 75 cents a gallon more. Right? So he's pretty cognizant of that fact. But who knows? I mean, it might be totally excluded, which, if that's the case, then what will end up happening is I think Canada will now use oil as a cudgel, right? Because Alberta's making a big stink about us retaliating with, you know, an export tax, particularly on oil products, because that's, you know, whatever, 25% export tax on Canadian oil going across the border. Alberta wasn't too keen on that. But if oil and natural gas are the only things that are carved out, then I can see the federal government and the rest of the provinces saying, okay, well, we're all suffering. Alberta suffering a little bit, but their main export's still doing pretty good. Yeah, I can see the Canadian government utilizing an excise tax on Alberta oil going south if it's totally tariff free. So anyway, interesting times. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm pretty fortunate myself personally in terms of my situation. My housing is stable and, you know, not going to increase in rent anytime soon. I'm a single guy. Well, I got kids, but they don't live with me. My grocery bill, I spend a couple $100 a month on groceries. If I end up paying $220, yeah, it sucks, but it's not going to cripple me. Everything else in my life, not going to be that substantial of a change. But my circumstances are unique, right? I'm not an average person that, you know, I'm not raising a family buying groceries. I don't have a car payment, paying car insurance, you know, mortgage payments, house insurance, just everything, right? So it's going to be pretty painful. I think we're going to be going through some hard times here in Canada, in the States as well, too. And, yeah, I don't know. We just got to take it day by day, and hopefully that's all the exciting news for the rest of the day. And, yeah, you guys have yourself a good afternoon.